While my people relaxed on the unscheduled orc safari, including my bodyguard and the wolves, I was hidden in the vault of my black fortress, busy setting up my demiurge forge with the help of 500 tech marines. And it was not easy. Some of it was battle damage, since we did take most dwarf ships by force, but most of the problem was the advanced nature of the demiurge tech. Even with a mostly compliant Fane cogitator, who appeared to be too self-aware for a simple Fane, we still had a lot of problems. Sure, we could forge the new bolters now, but this was mostly because the tech was almost identical. The demiurge forge was of amazing quality, and could shape adamantium with 10 times the ease of the best Mechanicus fabrication line. The weapons didn't even require human neural and nerve tissue for the machine spirit to activate, which was somewhat of a relief. I didn't have many dead blanks to harvest for parts in the Crusade fleet, and using normal human parts was a risk I wasn't willing to take. Not for the Lamenters anyways. Give the enemy the slightest flaw, and you could well be certain to have your weapons jam at the first sight of a Chaos Lord or Sorcerer. Happened too many times at Stygius. With a sigh, I repositioned some troops down on the planet, as they were about to step into a primitive orc ambush. Guys, this is your vacation, don't die on me here. They were not veterans yet, even with my new tactic of throwing them into the enemy head-on. Hopefully, the next batch of Katakan stock Lamenters would prove better. If not, I would have to begin the Primaris procedure for my troops as well. The Emperor wasn't discarding the firstborn on a whim. The Primaris were better in every way. Lacking experience obviously, but those who died could be replaced just as easy. In the end, he would have veteran Primaris in every chapter, it was inevitable. Inquisitor, place a call to your boss. I will need someone at Elivar with my own Primaris tech. I asked on a whim, while cursing inward as my little finger got caught in some damn metal lathe. Hurt like hell too. A minute later, the Inquisitor keyed her vox. I swear, it's like you have all the luck in the galaxy. She groaned on the vox bead, sounding unhappy. You got a reply already? I asked, curious. Yes. The Primaris tech is already at Elivar. But your son has locked his custodes in prison. She answered with a weird cough. Maybe the vox bead was faulty. Then I computed her words again. Oh. I mean, great. Rapid delivery service, the second I thought to ask. Gently, I extracted my finger and stared at it with dismay. I doubted it will ever move again. Will you send me an angel, again? I wondered without much hope. By some miracle, my finger began to glow with golden light and popped back into shape, looking perfect. Got it, Big E. I'll save your custodes from my evil son. When I reach Elivar, of course. At least Canis and Lash were having fun, trying to outscore one another. I knew a vacation will do my people well. The White Scar Blade Master was covered in vegetable blood as well, looking happier than I ever saw him. Chapter Master, did you just grow a new finger? A nearby tech marine asked with wide eyes. I certainly did not. The Emperor is having a laugh. And watch that lathe, it bites. I pointed angrily at the guilty machine. A few hundred of my kids stopped to stare at my outrageous words. Perhaps you could visit Lady Vale, Father? We have everything in hands here. I nodded in shame and moved away, catching a glimpse of a few words as they vanished from last page of her diary. Amberley? You have a rank in Ordo _Astartes? The blonde woman nodded hastily. It's not what you think, Lord Lancefire. I didn't ask for you to be suspended. She claimed rather panicked. I know, my dear. I spoke with the Emperor about that. But still, you are investigating me. I muttered in a disappointed voice. That is something else. Every chapter gets a review, how they perform, what tactics they use, what losses they take. You knew this already, she declared with a stronger voice. I hope that's all there is. Even the Emperor congratulated me for those 56 Inquisitors I have killed. I growled in a lower tone, watching her face grow pale. It was 67 by now anyways. I was quite busy at Stygius. There is also a concern you might be trying to form a Space Marine Legion, she whispered in a low voice. Ha ha. Both Sanguinius and the Emperor asked me to make more blank Astartes. I was practically ordered to go forth and procreate. You also know, my kids will never fall to chaos. I know is not my Rose, the High Lord of Terror for the Inquisition. It is not Lady Valane, who even married me to have more blank children. So, who is concerned? I asked patiently. My first mentor, Inquisitor Yetzmov, she admitted with a weak voice. I sighed and patted her shoulder with regret. If I could make a blank space legion, the Emperor would give me a medal. Do you think he likes having to kill a few million chaos traitors who bear his own gene seed? I suppose not. As proven by that Custodes waiting for you at home. Amberly groaned and leaned into my chest. We are both too dressed for this talk. I decided with a wry smile. Right. I do need to lose some tension. She answered with a sly grin. In a minute, I had the pretty Inquisitor bent over and screaming my name. Felt good being on fire. Dash. Victor exulted as he pumped his hips, feeling his lungs on fire. She was amazing, but way too resilient in bed, with her assassin augmetics. He was losing all the stamina so fast. With a huge effort, he burst forth, intending to procreate. Yes, he yelled in victory. Victor! The woman yelled with a loving voice. He crashed beside her, breathing heavily. Dear Emperor, I need more training. He complained softly. You need the right enhancements, my love. I'll see what we can pick that would not inhibit your procreation, she whispered with a tender voice. Assassin class enhancements are comparable with the Astartes glands, Governor. You should consider this, for your safety as well. The Blood Angel bodyguard spoke without prompt. It seemed a better advice than getting the gene seed, at least. This can wait until father returns. But in the meantime, I have to go on a short trip. Chiron will join me. Victor decided on the spot, now that his mind was clear. Take your lady as well, Governor. Aculexes can splatter demons with ease. The bodyguard spoke in a worried voice. Chi looked at him hopeful, but this wasn't a choice. Victor just sighed and vanished through the Tesseract labyrinth. He will take Mother Ordella, not some unknown assassin, no matter how pretty. One of them did try to kill Mother Stern, after all. Couldn't risk father's mission on a feeling. By the next hour, he had gathered a decent fleet of 4 battleships, 7 carriers and 86 cruisers, then departed for the far side of the eastern fringe. His mother simply frowned, but just nodded and placed the Admiralty on alert until he returned. They were both Lancefires, so they knew the odds. Against a hostile universe, the clan had to circle the wagons, and the battle wagons too. As his ships left Elivar, thousands of torpedo corvettes emerged from their carriers and docks, ready to sink anyone who dared to come. Dash! Ephrael Stern glanced at her solitaire, then shook her head. They will be coming soon. Of course they will. This place looks like an easy target now, in comparison. Namorak quipped with an easy laugh. At least Vadrax and Sabates will fight at our side. She claimed confidently. They failed before. The solitaire said with a careless shrug. A small coin made of electric light flickered in her hand. It's a coin toss then. It always is, little sister. The solitaire whispered in a sad voice, then placed his mirror mask back on. They had killed many great demons together, but never a demigod. If only Lancefire didn't make so many enemies. Maybe he could have called someone for aid. But nobody would come for him, not even if Lady Aisha asked. Not that she would. She hated blanks more than chaos. Joining the fool in a last laugh would be fine as well. Just as my people returned to the fleet, relaxed and feeling brave after easily butchering nearly sapient cucumbers, a strange wolf poked his head in my room, where I was still working on more STC to trade with my Mechonicus buddies. I have some bad news, Pef Lancefire. The Pharos has detected a new enemy, aimed right at you and your house. Lash said in a grave voice, as he came close and traced a dotted line on the galactic map, going from the maelstrom to the eastern fringe. "This is from Zorhulash?" I asked to make sure, while scratching his wolfish head by muscle memory. "Who else can maintain overwatch over a quarter of the galaxy? Also, a large fleet has just departed from your home, heading outwards towards the edge of the galaxy. I assume you sent your people to recover the third Black Fortress?" The Catan asked while his eyes stared at my hand with a weird look. Right, this was not Canis. I sheepishly drew my hand away from the ancient star god. Computing a course for my fleet, and subtracting the delay caused by towing some 88 demiurge ships' hulls behind, with a sigh, I stored the captured fleet in the Tesseract. No more pretending, if they wanted to play dirty. Best course for Elivar, Teresa. "We have guests coming," I ordered in a harsh voice, soon followed by the blaring sirens warning the crew. Before the fleet left the system, I pushed my mind and filled the second Tesseract with the remaining orcs and some of their bigger contraptions. We will need all the troops we can get. They have some giant ships as well. Brother counted 9 of them, all filled with troops and demons, plus tens of thousands of escort vessels. Lash added in a careless tone. "Lash, can you activate the pylon at the right time?" I asked in a softer voice. The Catan blinked at me, then glanced at the cogitator screen which now had a countdown for our ETA. 6 days, 6 hours, no way. "We will be too late, Pef Lancefire. At least 24 hours. The Catan predicted with a calm voice. Such a giant chaos fleet would not need a whole day to lay waste to my homeworld. I grit my teeth and the wolf mirrored me. "You may be a broken god now, but you still have the knowledge. More speed? I will need a delicious meal for this, rogue trader," the Catan demanded in a shameless tone. I just rose and ran towards the Black Lament's engine deck, itself larger than our largest battleship. I'm sure we could find something to feed the internal furnace of the star god. Finding an enemy to exterminate wasn't hard at all in this hateful universe. Once inside the engine, the wolf shapeshifted back into a giant humanoid creature, with tentacle hair that exploded out and impaled the black stone walls on all sides. "Keep the salad coming, rogue trader. This will take a lot of energy," the Catan demanded in a hungry voice, as red energy began to flow along his tentacles, so I kept shoveling orcs into the Catan furnace for a whole day, while the Black Lament dragged our fleet at hyperspeed towards the fringes of the galaxy. "I think it is enough. We better arrive behind them and obtain surprise," I said in a tired voice, as the Catan reverted to his wolf form. Then I just moved myself into bed, and fell asleep. As I woke up the next day, I checked the inventory. We barely had a few million orcs left in the Tesseract, beside 1 million Tyranids I kept as shock troops, armored in adamantium plates painted with the Lamentor's yellow sigils. "Lord Lancefire, I would guess you were the one who sped up the entire fleet. This is why you slept like a log, for 12 hours. The Inquisitor inquired with an inquisitive voice. I just waved a hand, then brought out my black tea thermos. "Brother Joeton, do prepare the Lamentors for a Crusade-level chaos assault. Then report on the biologist deck to be installed with a null wand. Margus Juggler will handle the insertion." My bodyguard froze for a second, then ran out, possibly sensing this was quite serious. "You could tell me more details," Amberly said with a frown on her pretty face. "We will arrive on time, and most likely just behind them. I don't know much about their composition, beside the 9 large ships that could likely counter the new Imperial Glory class. Thousands of ships at the minimum," I mumbled in between sips of hot tea. "You already have enough ships and forts at Elivar to counter this. I think only Holy Terror can match your defenses," she mused with a thoughtful look at my thermos. "And yet, they think they can win. It might be close," I said with a more level voice. "You're not worried at all. Dear Emperor, this will be like Cadia all over again," she exclaimed as she drew back, hands white on her bone staff. I just smiled. By tomorrow, the fleet will pass close enough to Solemnis, and I could invite a friend to this party. An undead robot friend, but a friend in need is a friend indeed. Lash was gonna love him. I will ask a few Necron friends to visit me at home. But the Eldar will probably not come. They still hate me, even after I saved their precious Aisha. I added with a sad voice. You have killed more Eldar than all the galaxy combined, since the Eye of Terror appeared. She explained in a patient voice. Huh? That might explain the hate. I always suspected it was my blank genes, I said in a surprised tone. And how can you have Necron friends? You just exterminated an entire Necron dynasty at Mobius. She wondered, curious. Exactly as you said. Different dynasty. They are not united, or not yet. They used to have a Necron king, I said in a kind voice, as my hand snaked towards her leg. The Inquisitor drew back, thinking about something. I will need more troops. My Death Watch guys are also depleted. In truth, she consumed over 300 former astral claws at Stygius alone. Damn chaos. I nodded slowly. You can have 20 blank Astartes from my spare. A few blank tech marines as well. I offered after some deliberation. Better use my sons now, and lose less, than replace more later. Your blank marines do work quite well with my powers. And they don't risk getting fried by accident, Amberly said in a grateful voice. Bed. I offered while drawing the sheet away. She blushed for some reason and walked away in a hurry. I need to prepare. Before she arrived in her rooms, I filled it with spare lamenters, then instructed them of the new mission. I even provided a few buckets of black paint. Only this time, they could keep the red bleeding heart sigil of our chapter. It wasn't long until I could reach Trazyn with my sounding board. My old bony friend. I have a new puppy. I explained in short words. Pef Lancefire. You would be the one I have to thank for exterminating those pests at Mobius? The Necron Lord asked in a grateful voice. You could. I am heading towards Elivar in 3 days. You could bring my next STC slates, and even your fortress. It will be a fun reunion. I proposed in a grand voice. Really? I hope this will not be an ambush, my almost clever friend. He answered in a suspicious voice. Have I ever given you a reason to doubt me, Lord Trazyn? Did I ever attack you? Or even planted an innocent bomb somewhere in your home? I continued in a joking voice. The Necron remained silent for a long minute. I can't find any bomb. Good. It might have been worse if he found something. See? I do need you, my old friend. I would never hurt myself by hurting you. As long as I get my templates, you are perfectly safe. I explained in a capitalistic tone. Or at least it sounded capitalistic in my head. Fine, but I might bring some firepower with me. You know, for insurance. This is a dangerous galaxy. Trazyn commented in a lighter tone. I mean, what could I say? Don't bring a Doom fleet with you? He would be useless, and I don't have useless friends. Whatever makes you feel safe, Lord Trazyn. I did hear about a Phaeron getting killed in his bed last month. Some rogue trader with a big wolf. I added as a parting gift. We don't even have beds. See you in 3 days. Trazyn spoke with grit teeth. I think he is afraid of an ambush now. I mean, he was even right. It was just not for him. Lady Decimar Lancefire never felt awed even in the presence of a Holy Inquisitor, not when she knew their real motives hidden under their mask of righteousness. And it was even harder to feel impressed by a woman who shared her husband in bed, in a few cases. But when faced with the Emperor's own custodes, she did feel awed. Not that it would change anything. You can dock your ship at the Lamenta Starfort and unload the Primaris technology. You can even help the apothecaries and tech marines set up the new procedures. I know my husband would want that. He would never refuse the chance to make his own sons stronger, she declared in a calm voice, and ignored the Culex's assassin at the side of the emissaries _Imperatus. She may be cute and all, but she wasn't a Lancefire yet. As for power, even Decima was stronger, not to mention Ordella. They had their own pariah here in the fringe, and likely outnumbered the entire Imperium in blanks. "What about my Calexis mission, Lady Lancefire?" she asked in a softer voice, almost shy. "You too, my dear. Our Obsidian Mother will provide you with a range of locations to choose where to deploy. But I suggest you wait on that, as we are on Tier 4 alert now. Victor and half of the capital ships are away for a few days." Decima allowed in a kinder voice. If the girl would be her daughter-in-law one day, she could make an allowance. "It will be so, Lady Lancefire. I don't know why you did not receive a Torchbearer's ship, and all the new armor and weapons from Mars, but the Primaris tech is invaluable even by itself," the Custode said in a relaxed tone, almost peaceful. Decima had seen other old veterans in her carrier, but this man seemed to belong to a class of his own. Not even Chiron in his Deathwatch dreadnought could compare with the invisible death zone surrounding the Custodes. It was likely the man could kill anything or everything in vicinity, without even a blink or hint of effort. "I wouldn't know precisely what Mars can provide, but I doubt they have better weapons. My husband is the one who gives most forge worlds around their newer STC or ancient devices. And as you saw in orbit, they repay us with many ships and other war devices as well," Decima said in a wry tone. Gene tech was the one thing where PEF did not improve on, and with good reason. "Indeed, my lady, it seems we will test your defenses soon enough. The great enemy is coming." The Custodes spoke in a grave voice, eyes glowing golden suddenly. "Augury disturbance in the comet cloud, Admiral. Warp ships, thousands." A Vox transmission arrived on her Vox bead a second later. She tapped the Vox bead and simply ordered Tier 5. "Distribute the alert to all system." In this hellish universe, there was only war. And now it came to visit Elivar again. "I'll go and dock with the Lamenta Star Fort. I may be of some help if the great enemy breach the fort line." The Custodes simply offered, then somehow vanished in a nearby shadow. "I will stay at your side, Lady Lancefire. Victor would fist me with Chiron's fist if I let anything happen to his mother," Chi proposed after a second of deliberation. Decima glanced at the side, where their own special assassin stood invisible, even from the deadly Custodes. "I guess she can stay, my lady. They may go for a decapitation strike." Vadrax accepted with a calm voice. "Decima, the timing is too good. I am certain they have managed to infiltrate us, if they strike right now." Elixir spoke softly on her Obsidian Vox channel. "You would know best, Obsidian Mother. Watch for abnormal deployments that deviate from Tier 5 protocols and execute them." She spoke in a quiet tone. "Already on it," Elixir muttered as she keyed her Vox to the next encryption. Chi just blinked at the invisible voice, then shook her head and mounted her helmet on. "Figures. I am only backup," she muttered as the etheric field closed and she went invisible too. Decima just turned and walked rapidly towards the elevator. The remaining Lancefire capital ships were all in various damage status, but she had enough corvettes to form 100 hunting packs, while the destroyers and frigates skirmished with the advancing Chaos Armada. As she approached the elevator doors, they opened suddenly and a familiar space marine shouted, "Hydra Dominatus," before firing his combi bolter straight at her. In a second, a green light flashed and the traitor fell in 3 pieces on the floor, while her Azarius shield glowed with bright light. "Thank you, Vadrax," she murmured as her heart skipped a bit. "The new phase blades work just fine, my lady. You focus on the fleet, I will handle the traitors." The Calexis assassin answered in the same calm voice. "I want a sword like that too. They seem useful," Chi added after a second of shocked silence. "I am on the way, my love. Let them enter the second fort line." Her husband sent directly into her mind. He was close then. They turned Victor's Blood Angel bodyguard. "Must have been something recent," she reported with a grim tone. "It doesn't work like that. Some kind of trigger deep in the mind. Like a corrupted Inquisitor can install and activate a century later. Pef commented with an easy voice. There is a Custodes here. With. She continued to report. I know, Decima. I asked for it. Pef replied curtly. And the Culexus mission? She asked, curious. No. I suspect they sent a woman this time. Is she pretty? Pef asked without any ulterior motive. Victor slept with her already. She answered in a smirk in her tone. Great for him. It will be trickier to keep her though. He mused in a weird tangent. Admiral. New Xenos fleet detected. Necron tech, most likely. And a black fortress. The Auspex station reported as the elevator reached the Admiralty level. Necrons too? She asked in her mind. Oh. Yes, they're with me. Kinda. Just don't shoot them. There won't be much left of Alivar if the sun explodes. Pef explained in a faraway voice, as if he had forgotten about a giant Necron doom fleet able to shatter stars. He probably did though. Possibly too distracted by another STC marvel he found somewhere, or a pretty woman in his bed. Possibly both. Walls deep in my amazing blonde Inquisitor friend, I almost forgot about Trizin. Focus Pef. Time for bloody work, sweet Amberly. The enemy is crossing the minefield now, I said as I pumped my gene seed in her spectacular body. The woman hugged me tight. Stay a minute longer. There will be plenty of war left for you. I hugged her back, even as the Tesseract began to sense the Chaos fleet in the distance. Soon, I could see the shape of the colossal arc of Omen, bristling with weapons and demons. May need to bring the second fortress out for this. But not yet. Firstly, let's find out why they believe they can win. It hasn't been long since I shattered most Zeonch forces at Stygius, so he couldn't have gathered another Black Crusade force so soon. Was this a shard of Nurgle? Some other new warp god? Knowledge was power, and I lacked some here. I didn't like this one bit. There are 9 entire such groups called a Balefleet, each is formed around an Ark of Omen at its core. Each consists of an army of various Chaos forces including Heretic Astartes, Cultists, Traitor Guard, Chaos Knights, Dark Mechanicum, and worse. Inquisitor Vale said as she leaned on her bone staff, her forehead sweaty with effort. Probably ripping the information from the brains of any Chaos traitor she could reach. I knew she could do that, and far worse. About 5,000 ships for each of these arcs. Mostly small escorts and some 300 capital void ships, various cruiser types. Also 5 Chaos battleships per group. They brought enough firepower to match the Stygius Crusade fleet, I continued her words, already englobing the entire Chaos Armada with my third Tesseract senses. And there is that Necron fortress again, just like at Cadia. Not even trying to disguise as a Mechonicus fleet this time. My lovely Inquisitor lover spoke with love on her lips. Okay, that was scorn, not love. I may have alliterated a bit. Brother Librarian Valerian took a step forward at my side. My lord, I can only sense a blob of hate and cruelty from this fleet. And nothing from that black fortress. He claimed with a doubtful voice. Lash raised a lazy eye at my Psyker Pariah son, as if curious what he was. Type 5 signal, etheric plus inverted was all the wrist detector could tell. I just shook my head, unable to answer them both. An Alpha Psyker was orders of magnitude stronger than a Gamma level like Valerian, and Amberly went even further on the scale now. Instead I took out the only ancestral _warding stave I found among the demiurge, and passed it to my son. Its dwarf user had chosen death before surrender, but the demiurge artifact was still very strong. I'm not sure if you should use demiurge items already, Lord Lancefire. The Ordo Xenos Inquisitor muttered with a wary glance at the ancient relic. You saw these guys with your own eyes, Lady Vale. It's all human tech, and more robust than most of what we have now. Plus, there are exigent circumstances ahead, I declared with a careless voice. We should begin as well. The Necrons are firing now. She answered instead, tacitly approving my actions. All ships. Accelerate to military speed. Armored blinds down. Flak batteries set to Logi engine autonomy. Augurs go autistic and close all Vox channels. Nova volley on my mark. I ordered and signaled the machine spirit to go mute and blind. The crew of my fleet will not need to see what they were fighting. In a few seconds, my entire fleet entered blind mode, flying towards the back of the Chaos Armada. The Talon fighters are sweeping back. They sense something. My psychic lover whispered in slight worry. Almost there, Mark. One by one, our heavy cruisers began firing their Nova cannons as soon as they entered range, pulverizing most Chaos escorts guarding the nearest Omen Ark, and the small Chaos starfighters as well. I think this fireworks show is you, Pef Lancefire. Lord Trazyn spoke in his mind, now close enough to connect easily. We may have to delay our meeting for few hours, my bony friend. You were right about a dangerous galaxy. Or did you invite them, as a favor for a certain Chaos sorcerer? I asked with suspicion in my tone. I did not think of this. But no, Lord Araman is not among these creatures. I checked already. He answered with a curious voice. We'll talk at the victory feast then. Your troops may need some live training too. I proposed with an easier voice. Agreed. I find this Chaos Armada quite suspicious and too well equipped. These big ships can even withstand Gauss cannons with ease. Neutron shielding, most likely. I'll know for certain during dissection, Trazyn the Infinite said in a scientist tone. My hand hovered over the side, and poked the Catan wolf. Hungry yet? Just don't steal my food again, rogue trader. Send me on the nearest Omen Arkansas. I'll investigate in more detail what they have. The Catan demanded with a hungry for souls voice. Well, I didn't carry a Catan on my ship for the pleasure of his company. With a flick, I moved the Catan wolf onto the nearest ark, and set him loose. Amberly just rose a curious eyebrow, then shrugged as the second wolf vanished from the bridge. For some reason, the Inquisitor seemed reserved, even avoiding the wolves lately. With a mental pulse, I ordered all ship captains to change course and head for the next ark, while our carriers began launching the escort corvettes and fighters. So far, I wasn't impressed much by the Chaos forces. They would have to show their hands soon. It didn't take long for the next stage to begin, as a warp rift emerged at the limit of our reality cage buried into the magma layer of Elivar. Flying demon engines, on which strange warp creatures rode through the void. Still not impressed. My right hand slammed onto the Immaterium beam control plate, snuffing out the demons and their riders as well. Still tiresome, but I was fresh now. I could last for hours. A red chaos beam from the first Omen arc strafed my fortress and failed to penetrate the void shields, then began to move towards my weaker ships. Cheeky bastards. With my tesseract, I flicked an overmine on top of the red battery and melted it and anything around it for a kilometer, revealing more layers of armor, hangar decks and countless traitors screaming silently at the void. Still only a surface wound on the Space Hulk-sized megaship. I closed my eyes and rapidly computed the required munitions to obliterate such a monster, and found my inventory wanting. Second mark reached. Another salvo of Nova cannons from my capital ships obliterated most of the second Bale fleet, including escorts, fighters and some light cruisers. This time, I added a few Nova mines inside the second arc, producing tremendous explosions on the inner decks and crippling the engines, then also transported my Tyrannid forces inside. My poor Tyrannid auxiliar was hungry too. Sending new mental commands, I once more changed course for my fleet towards the third Arkansas. Come on. Show me what you got. You didn't come here to get exterminated in detail, did you? Hateful. Cheating bastard. A giant voice filled the void, as the owner of this armada emerged from his third Arkansas. Ah. Is that a Chaos Tech priest? I asked, curious, as a strange demon emerged, with mechanical arms and creepy glowing skulls strapped to his sides. I think this creature is Vashta, if my warp lore is correct. Much stronger than a greater demon as well. Inquisitor Vale said with a white face. She didn't seem too confident. I just fired the Immaterium beam into his face, not really concerned. I have killed stronger things already. We might be in trouble, I heard Trazyn comment as a giant black fist slammed into my soul. It felt like having mountain-sized claws stuck inside your heart, gripping you by the balls and sucking out our eyes. But within the soul as well. Not pleasant, believe me. A burst of energy emerged from my heart, or rather some special gland inserted there by the Emperor, just in case. I drew a little energy from Amberly to resist for a second, while Canis wailed with a visible golden howl. A second was short, but I was already mentally accelerated by the implant and my own pain. My own bone staff landed in my right hand, while my mind linked with the Tesseract to bring Silent Sister Decima out. A black sphere of dead silence covered the black lament, making Inquisitor Vale throw up at once. So I took mercy on her and displaced her inside the Geller generator vault, where reality was somewhat normalized. It would still suck for a psyker, but she'll live. Damn thing is quite strong. I observed while spiting out clots of blood. Decima was sadly vowed to tranquility, so she couldn't speak, but she did thump me on the head with her fist. Right. I should have prepared better. Taking an enemy lightly wasn't my style, but perhaps I did coast too easily lately. Greater demons were not a danger with my fortress around. Canis fell on the floor, looking rather spent with effort. My implant ran a health diagnostic on him, finding the wolf had lost 5% of body fat and nearly all vital signs, from that single soul shout or whatever spell that golden howl was. Brave Canis, go rest in the Tesseract. I won't make this mistake again. And that was your puppy, acting out? Trazyn asked, curious. That was Canis. My other puppy is chasing mice on the First Omen Arkansas, I answered, a bit tired and definitely injured. ... You let him run around free? The Necron Lord asked, a bit confused, and perhaps worried at the lack of living chains to control my Catan. Free is a special word. Who is actually free in this world? You are bound to your race and dynasty, as am I. I mused thoughtfully, as I kept the Immaterium beam on this tech demon, burning though numerous shields and mechanicum contraptions. Even so. Your real puppy would die for you and be happy. This one. Trazyn warned me as his own fortress began to fire at my target. Worst case, I might sell you a wolf-shaped Catan that knows tricks. Like this cosmic fire. I added as the Omen arc blew up from the inside, once the Catan had enough fun tormenting the helpless crew. Let me bring out my own Catan shards. I'm getting outscored by a flesh human. Trazyn countered with his own brand of robotic pride. Foolish mortals. I will wear your skulls as my trophies. Our mighty demon target yelled with angry words, filling the void. He seems a bit distraught, I observed out loud, earning an honest chuckle from my crew. And very loud. The warp beam hurts him, but not enough. Valerian observed more tactically. Fine. Nova cannons, resume firing. 2 Nova mines inside the third arc, to cripple the engines and ammo bunker. Then all my orcs and their silimks, or whatever weapons they majiked up, spread inside every deck. The chaotically acting orcs would cause some chaos with the chaos crew. Valerian, you will deploy on the command throne. And pick a nice name, I continued in a calm voice, as I produced my second Blackstone fortress, and moved Valerian inside. Sadly, the new behemoth wasn't fully operational, and only had the Necron pylon as an add-on defense against chaos. But as the pylon was now active, it would prevent or drastically reduce all psyker powers in the system, just like it did at Octis. Furthermore, it did have an Immaterium beam of its own, thus increasing the firepower we could concentrate on this Vashta. Cheating. Shameless cheating. The demon complained as some kind of power hammer blew off in his hands. Must have been important, perhaps. Farther into the system, past the second fort line, A glowing Psi Titan appeared and punched an Omen arc straight on, blowing a giant hole in its prow. Sir Bates and his Princeps pilot were having fun as well. Corvette wings dove under the giant ship and launched thousands of torpedoes, gouging massive holes into the arc, without causing much damage internally. So I helped a bit, and added my own gifts, inserting a few Nova mines at critical spots. Was it cheating? Was I playing fair with the poor Chaos Armada? Who knows? The victor writes history, and I knew what the history will say. ... You have another fortress, Lord Lancefire? Maybe, somehow we could find something you want, among my precious exhibits. Trazyn proposed with infinite greed. This Vashta is still alive, Lord Trazyn. This reminds me of Cadia, I said in a warning tone. I have begun to compile a list of things aboard this arcs which include temporal and probability-based weapons, neutron shielding, quantum communications, counter-ballistic teleportation batteries, and many more. If I am worried, you should be more so. Our tesseracts are locking the timeline now, but if this thing escapes, you were not around to defend yourself 1,000,000 years ago. Humanity itself was still living in caves. The Necron warned me in a dour voice. Lash, you have anything to take down this creature? I asked with feeble hope. The Catan was feasting on the crew and Tyranids infesting the second arc, so I recalled my Tyrannid auxilia now. There were more arcs to board with expendable bugs. Not as I am, Pef Lancefire. I need to fuse with 1,000 shards to match this etheric demigod. The beams are weakening him. Slowly. He explained in a careless tone, could you bring Victor and his third fortress here? I wondered curious. Another fortress might be enough to kill this demigod demon. He surely was strong enough. I have just replenished my energy. The Catan complained in a lazy voice. No problem. Your former owner is just asking me what could I want from his museum exhibits. These glowing green chains must be quite painful. I warned him in a gentle voice, as Trazyn produced a transcendent Catan to summon a lightning storm and clear thousands of pesky chaos ships away from his fleet. Sure, Trazyn couldn't care less about a single shard now, with his wealth of shards, transcendent and even an intact Catan dragon in his vault. And as it happens, this particular transcendent Catan wasn't paid for yet. Meanwhile, I directed my fleet to engage the next arc, while we kept Vashta under constant beam attack. Sadly, I also did not have my intact Crusade fleet from Stygius anymore. Half of my capital ships were repairing in dock, a quarter were away with Victor. The Chaos Armada was beginning to take a toll on my ships and people, and even the Necrons began to suffer a bit. All right. I admit I don't feel comfortable beside this insane Necron lord. I will go help your son. Lash grumbled a little, then exploded in cosmic fire again and vanished at superspeed towards the galactic edge. Now he's running away. Told you a leash was better than mere promises. Trazyn gloated for a second. Nah, I gave him a task, might help us with this demon. I countered with a grim voice. Holding the beam was getting painful. More so, as my insides were likely mush, and I kept spitting blood clots. It couldn't be healthy. Apothecary on bridge. I heard Teresa demand on the internal comm. No. Don't use comms, even if you need help, send a messenger. Or tell me. Damn it, girl. A strange helmet exploded on the head of Vashta, but it was too late. Found you. Sneaky black soul, I will avenge my precious helm _of _ the cyberphage. The demon gloated in triumph, then powered through the beam towards my fortress. Damn my luck. I ordered the machine spirit to open fire with lance batteries and the Nova turrets on the demigod demon, but they had little effect. Even greater demons could tank so little damage. Decima, buy me some time. I ordered with a heavy heart. She won't be enough.